Life will never give you more than you're prepared to handle. If you think small, you'll attract small. If you expand your vision, your habits, your learning, suddenly, opportunities begin to notice you. Wealth isn't hiding. It's waiting for you to grow big enough to receive it. You don't get rich by chance. You get rich by change. Put a rich man and a poor man in the same room, same time, same opportunities, same economy, and within a year, they'll live completely different lives. Why? Because they don't see the world the same way. One sees problems, the other sees possibilities. One spends, the other invests. One waits for opportunity, the other creates it. The difference isn't money, it's perspective. And the good news? Perspective can change if you decide it will. You know, one of the great turning points in my life came the day I learned the simple but profound principle of paying myself first. Most people do it backward. They pay the landlord, the tax man, the grocery store, the electric company, and if something is left, they call it savings. But by the end of the month, there's rarely anything left. And even when there is, it slips away because there was no plan for it. That's when I realized the rule must be reversed. Don't save what's left after spending. Spend what's left after saving. The order makes all the difference. You see, wealth doesn't begin with a number. It begins with discipline. You can have a small paycheck and still build a fortune if you make the decision to honor your future before anyone else. I remember when I first heard this idea. I was broke, sitting at a kitchen table staring at more bills than dollars, wondering how anyone ever got ahead. My mentor said, "You don't need more money, you need a better plan." He told me to take 10 cents out of every dollar I earned and set it aside before paying anyone else. I laughed. I thought, 10 cents? That's nothing. But he said, that's the point. It's not about the amount, it's about the attitude. And he was right. That little act of paying myself first did something no paycheck ever did. It gave me ownership of my destiny. It said, I'm building something for me. When you make your future your first bill, everything changes. That first 10% isn't just money, it's the seed of independence. Call it your freedom fund, because that's exactly what it becomes. Each dollar you put there is a worker you send out into the world, earning for you, multiplying for you. You don't have to start with a big number. Maybe it's $5 this week, maybe it's 50, but start. Start now. The habit matters more than the size. Because the same discipline that handles $5 will one day handle 5,000. Here's what's interesting. When you start paying yourself first, your mind begins to shift. You start looking at expenses differently. You stop asking, can I afford this? And start asking, is this worth my future? That's the kind of question that builds wisdom along with wealth. And it's not about greed or selfishness. It's about stewardship. It's about learning to manage what you have with respect, no matter how small. The habit itself will make you ready for greater opportunities when they come. And here's a little secret. Never break this rule, even in the tough months, especially in the tough months. Because if you can keep your promises when times are hard, prosperity can trust you when times are good. Discipline during difficulty builds character, and character is what sustains wealth. So before you pay the world, pay yourself. Before you reward anyone else's labor, honor your own. That one small change can rewrite the story of your entire financial life. You know, life has a funny way of teaching you lessons through discomfort. I remember the years when I depended on one single paycheck. And let me tell you, that was not security. That was vulnerability, dressed up as stability. One day, the company slows down, or the economy shifts, and suddenly, what you thought was a foundation starts to feel like quicksand, that's when I learned one of the greatest lessons about wealth. Never depend on a single source of income. A single paycheck may pay your bills, but it will never buy your freedom. True wealth isn't built on one stream. It's built on a river network, flowing from different directions, all feeding into your future. I began to see my income like a table. If your table stands on one leg, you have to hold your breath every time the wind blows. But put 4 legs under it: a job, a small business, an investment, maybe a little royalty from something you created. Now you've got stability. If one leg falters, the others hold you up. That's how the wealthy think. They don't wait for the economy to save them. They design a financial fortress that stands regardless of what the world throws their way. When I first started exploring this, I didn't have a lot of capital or connections, but I had an idea, a willingness to learn, and a bit of courage to act. I started small, selling a few products on the side, teaching what I knew, saving part of every profit. It wasn't glamorous, but it was growth. That small side income became an education in discipline and creativity. And soon, I realized something powerful. Money earned independently feels different. It carries pride, confidence, and the spark of freedom. The key is not to wait for the perfect opportunity. Start where you are with what you have and grow from there. Maybe you can learn a freelance skill online, or rent out a small space, or start selling something useful in your community. The point is to create something that works for you, not just something you work for. And when you earn from it, don't rush to reward yourself with a new toy or a night out. Reinvest those profits into something that appreciates, an asset, not a liability. That's how the rich think. They make their money work before they let it play. In 3 years, make it your mission to have at least 3 streams of income, even if they're small. Maybe one from your job, one from investments, one from a side business. Watch how differently you walk when you know that your survival doesn't depend on one check or one person's decision. That's real peace of mind. That's independence. So, don't wait for someone else to make you secure. Build your own foundation. Create your own fortress. Because freedom doesn't come from earning more. It comes from earning smart. When I first started working, I thought the answer to my financial struggles was simple. I just needed to earn more. So I went to my boss and asked for a raise. He smiled and said, "You don't get paid for the hour, you get paid for the value you bring to that hour." That one line changed the entire direction of my life. I realized that if I wanted to make more, I had to become more. The marketplace doesn't reward time, it rewards value. It doesn't care how many hours you put in, it cares how much you bring to those hours. See, most people spend their time wishing things were easier, wishing the boss was more generous, or the economy was kinder. But that's not how wealth is built. You can't change the economy, but you can change yourself. You can't control opportunity, but you can control your preparation. The rich don't wait for luck. They build themselves until opportunity has no choice but to find them. When you focus on growing your value, income becomes a natural side effect, not a struggle. The secret is to become so valuable that money starts chasing you instead of you chasing it. Think of yourself as an asset in the marketplace. Every skill you develop increases your worth. Every book you read, every new ability you acquire, every problem you learn to solve, it all compounds. You become more resourceful, more creative, more capable of producing results that people will gladly pay for. That's when you stop competing on price and start commanding value. In my early years, I made a decision to work harder on myself than I did on my job. I set aside 30 minutes every single day to learn something that would make me better. Better at communication, better at sales, better at understanding people. It didn't feel like much at first, but consistency compounds. A year later, I was solving problems my peers couldn't. 2 years later, I was being offered opportunities they never even heard about. You see, when you grow your value, your world expands with you. Pick one high-value skill and dedicate yourself to mastering it. Maybe it's leadership, maybe it's investing, maybe it's selling or communicating. Doesn't matter where you start, as long as you start. Learn something new about it every day. Practice it deliberately. Track your progress every month, not every year. Watch how your confidence grows, and with it, your earning potential. Remember, money is simply a reflection of the value you create for others. If you want to earn more, serve more. If you want bigger rewards, solve bigger problems. It's not about wishing for an easier path. It's about becoming the person capable of walking the hard one. Because when you grow your value, income isn't your pursuit anymore. It becomes your reward. When I was a young man, I wanted to be successful, but wanting alone never made anything happen. I had dreams, yes, but they were foggy. I would say things like, someday I'll be rich, or one day I'll have freedom. But someday isn't the date, and one day never shows up on the calendar. Then one night a mentor said to me, if you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan, and guess what they have planned for you? Not much. That struck me hard. From that moment on, I realized that wealth doesn't come from hope, it comes from clarity. A vague wish produces vague results, but a clear goal creates direction, purpose, and movement. You see, the mind is a goal-seeking machine. It works best when it knows precisely what it's aiming for. When you give it a clear target, it starts aligning thoughts, habits, and actions toward it almost automatically. But when you live without defined goals, you drift, and drifting never leads to prosperity. Wealthy people don't stumble upon success. They design it. They know exactly how much they want to earn, by when, and most importantly, why. The why is what keeps you going when things get difficult, when progress slows, or when distractions whisper for your attention. I remember when I wrote down my first real financial goal. It wasn't fancy. I wanted to save $1,000 within 6 months. But I didn't just write the number. I wrote the date I would achieve it and the reason behind it. I wanted to prove to myself that discipline could create freedom. Every morning, I reviewed that goal. It was right there in front of me, shaping my choices throughout the day. It influenced how I spent, how I earned, and even how I thought. 6 months later, I didn't just have $1,000, I had proof that goal setting works. From there, I raised the target. I started setting goals for income, investments, business ventures, and even how many books I would study about money. Each time, clarity produced progress. Don't just hope you'll make more money or save more someday. Be exact. Write down 3 financial goals with real numbers and clear deadlines. Maybe it's saving $10,000 in a year, investing $200 a month, or paying off a debt by a specific date. Then, break each one into monthly and weekly steps. The smaller the steps, the stronger the momentum. Every goal achieved builds your confidence, and confidence is the foundation of success. Review your goals every morning. Let them guide your thoughts, influence your decisions, and remind you of your purpose. Because the moment you turn a vague dream into a written, measurable goal, you start taking control of your destiny. Wealth doesn't arrive by accident, it arrives by design. And a clear goal, backed by discipline and deadlines, is the design that turns dreams into reality. When I first began my journey toward wealth, I worked harder than anyone I knew. Long hours, endless effort, full dedication, yet my results didn't match my energy. Then one day a friend said something that shifted my entire perspective. You're working hard, but your money isn't. That hit me like a brick. I realized that while I was busy earning, I wasn't building systems that could earn for me. I was trading time for income, instead of building structures that could multiply what I made. Hard work is essential. It builds your character. But smart systems build your future. You see, wealth doesn't grow from effort alone. It grows from structure. The rich understand that their energy is limited, but systems are limitless. They create processes that continue to function even when they're asleep, traveling, or simply taking time off. Systems don't need motivation. They just need design. Once built, they work quietly in the background, collecting returns, paying bills, saving money, and protecting what you've built. I remember when I decided to automate my savings for the first time. I told my bank to take a fixed percentage of my income every month and move it straight into an investment account, automatically, no permission needed. The first few months, it felt uncomfortable. I kept thinking, what if I need that money? But as time passed, I realized something powerful. I didn't miss what I never saw. The money went out before I had the chance to spend it, and that simple automation built consistency I could never have achieved through discipline alone. Months turned into years, and soon I had a growing account working quietly in my favor, proof that systems outperform motivation every single time. Start small, but start today. Automate your savings, investments, and debt payments. Use digital tools or apps to track your spending so you can see exactly where your money is going. Set reminders to review your systems every month and improve them every quarter. Maybe you find a better investment platform or a way to reduce unnecessary expenses. Every improvement compounds. Over time, these small adjustments transform into massive results. The key is to make your wealth-building process automatic. Motivation comes and goes, it's human nature. But automation doesn't rely on how you feel. It runs whether you're tired, distracted, or busy. It removes emotion from money management and replaces it with consistency. And consistency is where wealth is born. Remember, the goal isn't to work until you can't. The goal is to build systems that work when you don't. When your money begins to grow without your constant attention, when your bills pay themselves on time, when your investments compound silently in the background, that's when you begin to experience true financial freedom. Wealth isn't about running faster, it's about designing smarter. Build systems today that will serve you tomorrow, and you'll discover that the smartest kind of work is the kind you only have to do once. When I was starting out, I used to think success was an individual game, that if I worked hard enough, stayed focused enough, and believed deeply enough, I could do it all on my own. But life has a funny way of teaching you what books can't. I began to notice that no matter how hard I worked, my results seemed to plateau. Then I realized why. I was surrounded by people who weren't growing. They were good people, kind people, but they were comfortable. And comfort is contagious. You see, your environment is stronger than your willpower. You may have dreams of wealth, but if you spend your time around people who settle for less, soon their habits will rub off on you. There's a powerful truth I learned early on. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Their conversations become your thoughts. Their standards become your expectations, and their habits become your behavior. Spend time with small thinkers, and soon your dreams start shrinking to fit their comfort zones. But surround yourself with ambitious minds, with people who challenge you, push you, and make you slightly uncomfortable, and your thinking will expand to match theirs. Growth-minded people don't let you stay average. They pull you upward. sometimes without you even realizing it. I remember a time when I attended a small business gathering, not because I was successful, but because I wanted to be. I sat quietly in the corner, listening to conversations about investments, leadership, and ideas that felt far beyond my reach. But something happened that night. Just being in that room stretched my vision. I began to think bigger, plan smarter, and believe more deeply in what was possible. Within a year, my income and mindset had both transformed. Not because I became smarter overnight, but because I changed who I listened to. It's not about cutting people out of your life. It's about choosing your influences wisely. If you spend too much time with complainers, you'll find reasons to complain. If you listen too often to excuse makers, you'll find comfort in your own excuses. But if you spend time with doers, thinkers, and builders, you'll start to absorb their energy, their discipline, and their mindset. Success leaves clues, and proximity is one of them. Join a mastermind or business network that focuses on growth. Read with others in a book club dedicated to wealth and personal development. Seek mentorship, not from someone who talks about success, but from someone who's living it. Watch how they think, how they make decisions, how they handle failure. Model their principles until they become second nature. You can't build a millionaire mindset in a room full of people who've given up on their dreams. Choose your circle like your future depends on it, 'cause it does. The people you walk with will either speed up your journey or anchor you to mediocrity. Surround yourself with those who make you grow, and you'll find that wealth becomes not just what you achieve, but who you become in the process. When I was younger, I thought wealth meant having nice things, the fancy car, the big house, the expensive suit. I believed success was measured by what people could see. But over time, I realized something far deeper. The rich don't think in weekends, they think in decades. True wealth isn't about luxury, it's about legacy. It's not about how much you can spend, but about what you can sustain. The goal isn't to look rich, it's to be free. Freedom to give, to grow, and to live fully. See, the poor mindset asks, what can I buy today? But the wealthy mindset asks, what can I build that will last? The difference is time horizon. One lives for moments, the other lives for generations. I remember standing outside a luxury store one day, staring at a suit I couldn't afford. I thought, one day, I'll have enough to buy that. But later, I met a man who changed that thought forever. He said, don't aim to buy the suit, aim to own the store. That single sentence rewired my thinking. It made me realize that real wealth doesn't come from showing money, it comes from growing it. When you think legacy, your decisions shift. You stop chasing instant pleasure and start building long-term stability. You stop consuming what depreciates and start creating what appreciates. You begin to see every dollar as a seed, not something to spend, but something to plant. Maybe that seed grows into an investment, a business, or even an education that changes your child's life. Legacy thinking transforms money from a tool of status into a force for good. I once sat down and wrote what I wanted my money to do long after I was gone. It wasn't about cars or houses, it was about impact. I wanted to create systems that would keep teaching, giving, and growing beyond my lifetime. I started small, setting up an education fund for my children, investing in ventures that would employ others, and mentoring young people on financial discipline. Over the years, those small efforts became the foundation of something lasting. The satisfaction of knowing you're leaving footprints that outlive your footsteps, that's wealth on a different level. So, build a long-term wealth plan, not for next month, but for the next generation. Include your investments, your business, your education, and your giving. Teach your children not just how to earn, but how to manage and multiply. Show them that money is a servant, not a master. Leave systems, not just savings. Because money can run out, but principles, if passed on, can create wealth forever. Remember, luxury fades, but legacy endures. The car will rust, the house will age, the clothes will go out of style, but the values you build, the knowledge you share, and the systems you leave behind will keep working long after you're gone. Don't just live rich. Live in a way that others grow richer because you did. That's the highest form of wealth. I learned early in life that the way you spend money reveals far more about your future than the amount you earn. Most people think the path to wealth is about how much comes in, but the truth is, it's about how much stays and what that money does after it stays. Poor people buy luxuries first. They chase comfort, appearance, and short-lived pleasure. But the rich, they buy assets first. They don't ask, can I afford this? They ask, will this pay me back? That single shift in thinking, turning spending into investing, marks the real turning point in a person's financial life. I remember when I got my first real paycheck. I was excited. I had plans for it before I even received it. I thought about the new car, the better clothes, and the fancy dinners. But my mentor told me something that stopped me in my tracks. He said, don't buy things that make you look rich. Buy things that make you become rich. I didn't fully understand it then, but I followed his advice and it changed everything. Every time I wanted to buy something, I asked myself, will this generate value or will it drain it? That question became my financial compass. When you shift from consumption to creation, your whole financial reality transforms. You stop buying liabilities and start accumulating tools. Instead of spending $200 on a night out, you buy a course that teaches you how to make $2,000. Instead of upgrading your phone every year, you invest in a software or system that helps you earn while you sleep. Every purchase either moves you closer to freedom or ties you tighter to debt. The wealthy understand this equation and use it to their advantage. Another powerful habit is delaying lifestyle inflation. Most people, when they start earning more, immediately start spending more. They upgrade their house, their car, their wardrobe, all to keep up appearances. But the rich delay that gratification until their investments can pay for it. When you let your money grow before you reward yourself, you allow compounding to work in your favor. That's how wealth multiplies quietly in the background. Once a month, I still sit down and review where every dollar went. I look for what I call wealth leaks. Unnecessary expenses that sneak in through habits, convenience, or emotion. Maybe it's a subscription I don't use, a meal I didn't need, or an impulse buy that added no value. When you become aware of these leaks, you start plugging them. Each dollar you recover becomes a dollar that can be invested, grown, and put to work. So before you spend, pause and ask, does this make me richer or poorer? If it makes you richer in knowledge, skill, or opportunity, spend freely. If it only satisfies a momentary urge, walk away. Build a habit of turning expenses into assets. And over time, you'll find yourself surrounded not by things that lose value, but by things that create it. That's how the rich think, not in terms of spending, but in terms of sowing. Every dollar is a seed. Plant it wisely, and it will feed you for life. When I was young, I believed the only way to get ahead was to work harder, longer hours, more effort, more sweat. I thought the secret was to outwork everyone. But later I learned that the truly wealthy don't just work harder, they work smarter. They understand something the average person doesn't, the power of leverage. You see, the poor use labor. The rich use leverage. That means they find ways to multiply their time, money, and effort through intelligent design, not endless exhaustion. Leverage, in its simplest form, means getting more done with less of your own effort. It's what allows one person to achieve in a year what others struggle to do in 10. But here's the thing, leverage is neutral. It can build empires or it can destroy them. It's not the tool that matters, but the wisdom of the person using it. A sharp knife can prepare a meal or cause harm. It depends on who's holding it. The same is true for leverage. There are three main kinds of leverage that change your life when used correctly: time, money, and systems. Time leverage means delegating tasks that don't require you. If you're doing everything yourself, you've built a prison, not a business. The wealthy learn to free their time for high-value activities, strategy, creativity, relationships, by delegating routine work to others. You can't scale yourself, but you can scale your impact through people who share your vision. Then there's financial leverage, using money to make money. The average person fears debt because they've only seen it used poorly. Bad debt buys what loses value. Good debt buys what produces it. If you borrow to consume, you shrink your future. If you borrow to create, you expand it. The key is education and discipline. The rich don't gamble, they calculate. They study every investment, every risk, every potential return. They don't let emotion drive decisions. They let numbers and logic lead the way. And then comes system leverage, perhaps the most powerful of all. Technology, automation, processes, these are your silent workers. They don't sleep, they don't get tired, and they don't forget. When you build systems that work, even when you're not watching, you create a force that compounds your results. A simple automated investment, an online business, or a content platform can generate income without constant input. That's true leverage. When your systems start producing while you focus on growing. I remember when I first applied leverage intentionally. I hired someone to handle small administrative tasks I was drowning in. It cost me a portion of my income, but it gave me back my time. That time allowed me to study, strategize, and expand. And within months, that decision paid for itself tenfold. I realized then that leverage isn't a luxury, it's a necessity for growth. But here's the warning. Never use leverage without wisdom. Don't chase shortcuts or risk what you can't afford to lose. Use leverage to scale what already works, not to gamble on what you hope might. Leverage magnifies results, both good and bad. So first, get good. Then, get leverage. The moment you learn to multiply your effort instead of merely increasing it, you step into the realm of the rich, where results grow faster than time and wealth becomes inevitable. When I was young, I thought the key to success was finding a good job, working hard, and climbing the corporate ladder. That's what everyone around me believed, that the path to wealth was paved with promotions. But after years of observation, I learned something powerful. A job can make you a living, but only a business can make you a fortune. Your job pays the bills, but your business builds the future. And if you never make that transition, even part-time, you'll always be working to build someone else's dream instead of your own. You see, a career gives you income, but a business gives you leverage. When you work a job, you trade your time for money. The moment you stop working, the money stops coming. But a business, even a small one, allows your time and effort to multiply. It gives you control over your destiny, your decisions, and your growth. The difference is ownership. The wealthy understand that true freedom doesn't come from earning more hours. It comes from owning systems that work even when they don't. I remember when I first started building something outside of my regular work. It wasn't grand or glamorous. It was a small idea that I nurtured during evenings and weekends. A simple side venture. At first, it made almost nothing, but I stayed with it. I reinvested every profit, improved the product, learned about marketing, and built systems that could operate without me constantly watching. Slowly, that little idea grew into something significant. Something that earned while I slept, traveled, or spent time with my family. That's when I realized the power of owning something that serves others and continues to pay you long after the work is done. So, start small. You don't need to quit your job or take huge risks. Work full-time on your job, but part-time on your fortune. Build something aligned with your strengths and passions. Maybe it's an online business, a consulting service, or a local venture that solves a problem in your community. The key is to begin. Most people spend years waiting for the perfect time, but the perfect time never comes. The rich act first and perfect later. As your business grows, remember to reinvest, not reward. The temptation to spend your first profits is strong. Resist it. Every dollar that goes back into your business is a seed for future abundance. Reinvest in better systems, marketing, people, or tools that expand your reach and reliability. Over time, start systematizing every part of your business, sales, operations, customer service, until it runs efficiently even when you're not there. That's when you'll experience true leverage, when your business becomes a machine that creates value independently. You don't need to build an empire overnight. You just need to start building something of your own. Because the truth is, jobs may give you stability, but businesses give you freedom. One gives you security today, the other gives you legacy tomorrow. So, while you work hard on your job, don't forget to work harder on your fortune. The day you take ownership, not just employment, is the day your real journey to wealth begins. When I first started learning about wealth, I thought I could figure it all out on my own. I read a few books, attended a few talks, and thought I had the formula. But then I realized something. Knowledge without proximity rarely transforms a life. You can study success from afar, but you become successful when you get close enough to see how it's really done. That's why I often say, success leaves clues. And those clues are found in the lives, habits, and disciplines of people who have already walked the path you're trying to take. You see, money has patterns, and those who've mastered it have insights you can't find in theory alone. If you want to accelerate your growth, you must surround yourself with those who think bigger, move smarter, and act with intention. When you're in the company of people who've built wealth, you begin to see the difference between activity and productivity, between income and impact. You stop chasing every opportunity and start recognizing the right ones. Proximity to excellence changes your standards without permission. Early in my career, I sought out people who were already living the kind of life I wanted. Some were entrepreneurs, some were investors, and some were simply wise with their money. I didn't approach them asking for favors. I approached them offering value. My time, my effort, my service. I volunteered, I helped with projects, I listened more than I spoke. Over time, I earned their mentorship, not because I asked, but because I proved I was teachable. And what they taught me was priceless, not just how to make money, but how to think about money. If you want to grow your wealth, get close to people who understand it. Attend investor meetups, business seminars, or online communities where serious people gather to exchange ideas. But here's the secret. Don't go there to impress anyone. Go there to absorb. Sit quietly and listen to how they talk about opportunity, risk, and value. Notice how they're always learning, how they read, how they make decisions. When you study them closely, you begin to model their mindset. And that mindset is what separates financial struggle from financial mastery. But remember, mentorship is earned, not begged. Wealthy people value initiative. They've worked too hard to waste time on those who only want a shortcut. So, bring something to the table. Your energy, your work ethic, your curiosity. Ask good questions. Offer to help. Be the kind of person who adds value wherever you go. When you do, mentors will find you. They'll open doors not because you asked, but because they see potential worth investing in. The truth is, the fastest way to grow is through proximity. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just find someone who already built one that rolls smoothly and learn how they did it. Associate with money masters. Let their habits become your habits. Their vision stretch your limits, and their wisdom guide your path. Because when you walk with those who've mastered wealth, you won't have to chase success, you'll naturally grow into it. When I was younger, my focus was simple. Make enough money to live well, to be comfortable, to not worry about bills. But as I grew older, I realized that true wealth isn't measured by what you accumulate. It's measured by what you continue. Wealth that ends with you isn't success, it's interruption. The goal isn't just to build fortune for yourself, but to build a foundation that others can stand on long after you're gone. That's what legacy truly means. Legacy isn't what you leave to people, it's what you leave in them. See, real wealth has depth. It's not just about the house you buy or the numbers in your account. It's about the wisdom, the discipline, and the example you pass down. If all you leave behind is money, you've given your family a resource without a roadmap. But if you teach them how that money was built, the mindset, the sacrifices, the principles, you've given them the most valuable inheritance of all, the ability to create and sustain wealth themselves. When I began to understand this, I started to shift my focus from accumulation to education. I wanted my family, my team, and the people around me to understand how wealth works, not just experience its benefits. I talked openly about investments, about mistakes, about opportunities missed and captured. I involved my children in small money decisions, not to burden them, but to prepare them. I wanted them to learn that money isn't something to be feared or worshiped. It's something to be managed with wisdom and purpose. If you have children or younger relatives, bring them into the conversation early. Teach them how money grows, how it's lost, and how it can serve. Let them see the power of saving, investing, and giving. Don't hide financial struggles. Use them as lessons. Show them that setbacks aren't the end, they're education. Every generation should grow wiser than the one before, and that can only happen if knowledge is shared intentionally. Build systems that live longer than you do. Create trusts. Write plans. Establish businesses or funds that continue to provide value beyond your lifetime. Set up charitable causes or educational opportunities that keep your name working even after you've stopped breathing. And document your philosophy, your rules, your habits, your thinking, because one day someone in your family will face a challenge and remember your words. They'll make a wise decision because you took the time to teach, not just to earn. I've met people who built fortunes but left chaos behind. They succeeded financially but failed generationally. And I've also met those whose names still open doors decades after they're gone because they built systems, not dependencies. They didn't just give, they guided. So, build for generations. Think beyond yourself. Let your wealth and your wisdom become a tree whose shade you may never sit under, but whose roots were planted by your vision. Because real wealth isn't what you collect, it's what you continue. When I first started earning a little money, I thought that was the hard part, making it. But over time, I discovered something far more important: keeping it, growing it, and understanding it. Most people lose not because they're lazy, but because they're financially illiterate. You can't win a game you don't understand. Money has a language, a rhythm, a set of rules, and if you don't learn them, you'll spend your life working for someone who did. Financial ignorance is expensive. It costs more than taxes, more than inflation. It costs freedom. The tragedy is that most people are never taught how money really works. They're taught how to earn money, but not how to use it wisely. And that's the difference between those who simply make a living and those who build wealth. The wealthy don't delegate their understanding. They study the game. They know where every dollar goes, how it works, and how to make it work harder for them. When I was young and broke, I decided I was tired of guessing. So I began to study money like my future depended on it, because it did. I read books, listened to tapes, asked questions. I wanted to understand how the tax system rewarded investors, how interest could work for or against me, how inflation silently ate away at savings. The first time I realized how compound interest could grow over time, it changed how I looked at every dollar I spent. Suddenly, a cup of coffee wasn't just a few coins, it was potential growth. I was trading for momentary pleasure. Most people look at the rich and assume they're lucky, but wealth isn't luck, it's literacy. When you learn how money flows, through taxes, investments, business, and time, you stop playing defense and start playing offense. You begin to make decisions that serve you, not enslave you. Every investment, every expense, every opportunity begins to make sense. You stop reacting emotionally to money and start thinking strategically. The beautiful part is, you don't have to learn it all at once. Start small. Read one book on finance or investing each month. Study how interest rates work, how inflation erodes value, how taxes can be minimized through smart choices. Follow people who've built wealth intelligently, not those who promise quick riches, but those who've created it steadily and ethically. And then apply what you learn in your daily life. Knowledge without action is trivia. Knowledge with action is transformation. Think of it this way. Money is like a language, and the financially free are fluent in it. They know how to communicate with it, how to make it serve their goals, how to read its signs. The rest of the world struggles, not because they're unworthy, but because they're uninformed. Don't be one of them. Decide that you'll never again let ignorance be the reason you stay small. Once you learn the language of money, you'll realize wealth was never mysterious. It was simply misunderstood. As we come to the close of this message, I want you to pause for a moment and think about where you are right now. Not in terms of your bank account, but in terms of your mindset. Because that's where every journey of wealth truly begins. The difference between those who struggle all their lives and those who rise to freedom isn't opportunity, it's awareness. It's the decision to stop thinking small, to stop waiting for luck, and to start taking control. You see, the moment you decide that your future will be built by design, not by default, that's the moment everything begins to change. Wealth isn't a miracle. It's not the privilege of a chosen few. It's a formula, a pattern, a set of disciplines practiced consistently over time. You've heard me talk about them. Paying yourself first, building multiple streams of income, growing your value, setting clear goals, surrounding yourself with the right people, thinking legacy, learning the language of money. Each of these is a step on the staircase that leads from survival to success. But here's the truth. None of it works until you do. Knowledge alone doesn't change your life. Applied knowledge does. I remember when I was broke, sitting in a small apartment, wondering why others seemed to get ahead while I stayed stuck. And then I realized they weren't waiting for motivation. They were acting on principles. They were doing small things every day that compounded into extraordinary results. So I started too. I began saving a little, learning a little, growing a little. It didn't look like much at first, but over time, those little things added up. That's how wealth works. It's built brick by brick, habit by habit, day by day. You don't have to change your entire life overnight. You just have to begin today. Start with one discipline. Maybe it's setting aside 10% of your income. Maybe it's reading one chapter of a book on investing. Maybe it's cutting one expense that doesn't serve you. These small steps may seem insignificant now, but they are the seeds of your future. And the law of the harvest still applies. You reap what you sow. And only if you keep sowing